This video is brought to you in part by Squarespace. Part 3 of Dark Beginnings has brought us a conclusion filled with more stunning animation and fans debating the details of Shadow and his abilities, and yeah, what a shock. But we're gonna get into all of it. The good, the bad, and the beautiful. When you add all three of these up together, you don't even get a standard length episode of an anime. Really wish these guys would just put the funding down for a proper 6-episode miniseries set in the Sonic universe, because the biggest problem for any of these Sonic shorts is that they're short. They always leave you wanting more, which is the point. They want you to go play the games, but just once. I'd love if they would just tell the story from start to finish in the same medium. Give me that climax. More like Shadow the Hedgehog, am I right, boys? I'm excited for Shadow Generations, and I know that more animation means more budget, and they probably got away with making these as pretty as they are because they only have a few minutes to work with, but hey, a fan can dream and whine and demand. Welcome to my channel, I do this all the time. But that's saying something when the worst part of it all is that you want more of it. What we have here is overwhelmingly incredible. We have Team Dark once again infiltrating a base, this time run by Gun, with Rouge telling Shadow what he already knows, but in case you haven't played his title game, this is here to catch the audience up and really cement some points down about Shadow's canon. His relationship with Gun, how they funded Project Shadow, and how they locked him away for 50 years. This of course is second nature to a lot of Shadow fans, but this organization has not played a major role for the Sonic franchise for some time. Seriously, you should see how many people were freaking out at set photos for the second Sonic movie. Sonic fans get really excited when they see guns. It's nice to see Sega fully embrace all of this stuff and firmly establish Shadow's view on Gun, which is, as it turns out, pretty neutral these days. He doesn't see them as his enemy, at least not tonight, but rather as an obstacle, as we see yet another boss from his title game arrive on the scene, a Blue Falcon. And as you would expect by this point, we have some glorious action pop off as soon as there's something new to hit. And I really love the attention to detail with everything. Omega's minigun dancing across the ground, rolling along as it's revving up. You can feel the weight and power that this robot wields, and it's hilarious that he doesn't get to use it at all in this episode, because Shadow pops out and grabs a missile right out of the air, throwing it back at the Blue Falcon, and just to really embarrass that poor bastard, outpaces the missile and grabs it again midair and smacks it into the machine. Someone needs to mod this into Doomsday Zone, like right now. It's funny, but these fights seem to get more and more one-sided in each short. I mean, poor Omega, again, doesn't even get to show off all of those beautiful bullets. And Rouge isn't even involved. And Shadow is just making this robot look like a chump with his own artillery, warping between missiles and finally letting off that iconic chaos control. And somebody else pointed this out on Twitter. I should have screen capped it, I'm so sorry. But another attention to detail, how the emerald just appears in Shadow's hand. I don't need a full game explaining how that works, but I like that they at least acknowledge that the emeralds are in some form absorbed into the person that's wielding their power. Now, if you could do that for the rings, Sega, that'd be super. You know what? I get it when you guys get sick of me talking about classic Shadow or the Freedom Fighters or Mobius. I get it. But the rings? I'm sorry. I got to fight with some of you about rings showing up in Sonic media? Forget it. I'm going to make a whole video about it. That's just what's going to happen now. Rings are no compromise. That's Sonic's whole thing. Bring back the rings. I'm so sorry. Why do I have to whine about everything? This cartoon was great. Anyway, yeah, like I was saying, the fights get more one-sided, but God, they look cooler every time. It's just fun watching Shadow just completely decimate this whole man's existence. You got missiles, and he bitch slaps them back into your face. He doesn't even use them to take out the Blue Falcon. He spin dashes through the machine with the camera falling with all of the action. That's fantastic. And not only that, we get that fake out, whatever, we know Shadow will rescue the pilot, but even here, it doesn't feel like an eye-rolling awkward trying to keep it PG moment. It feels like Shadow just really wanting to look this man in the eyes to really understand how outclassed he is by a cartoon hedgehog. Call me edgy, bitch. I dare you. Call me edgy. Call me Shadow the Hedgehog topic. You're gonna look me in my cartoon-ass angry Mickey Mouse eyes and know you will never be better than me. You're a whole-ass human being, and there's not a single human woman that would pick you over me. Ain't nobody gonna remember your face. I'm gonna cause a whole lot of problems in theaters come December. You will gladly watch me kiss your wife on the mouth. Oh, and then there's an attack on a second tower. Anyway, Anyway, Omega whines about his lack of action. Shadow, not even hiding the parallels to Vegeta and Sasuke and every other anime badass out there, just gives him a just that cocky little without even turning his head. No, I don't care what Azuka says. Don't listen to his lies. This is straight up anime trash. I am here for it. He is the coolest. He told me so. Oh, and he can pilot a rocket. Why not? Just like every other vehicle he approaches, you just press A and you're good to go. I mean, if Knuckles can do it, why not him? Yeah, so rocket's taking off, but alarms start blaring. Guns got guns. Who could have guessed? Then we got the stupid little dudes from SA2. God, I can never get the gold ones. I gotta go play that game again. I'm not even a fan of SA2. This makes me want to play SA2. This makes me want to play Shadow 05. It's that good. Anyway, guns are everywhere. The robots are everywhere. They're all ready to blast this rocket out of the sky, but it's all stopped by the stern voice of Sonic the Hedgehog using his Chris Redfield voice. Yeah, sorry, just got mixed up there. Roger Craig Smith not only plays Omega in these shorts, but also Gun Commander Abraham Tower. Yes, he says his full name. I don't want anybody else trying to sass me in the comments like I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe his name is just Abe. Shut your dumb mouths. Shut your stupid dumb mouths. This is from Archie. We got all of this because Archie Sonic exists. Thank you, Ian. Mwah. I would let our mustaches touch anyway. His name is Abraham Tower, which was originally from the Archie Sonic series, or maybe it's just another reference to, I really gotta stop making these jokes. I love being an American. I promise. Please don't deport me. I can make that joke. I'm from Paraguay. That's real. I am. I just grew up in Iowa, but I'm from Paraguay. There's some Nick lore for you. What was I talking about? The Blue Falcon crash was an inside job. So, yeah, I liked all that. But we're not done yet, because here we learn what Rouge was up to on that Eggman base. She was scrounging up info on the Time Eater. And I gotta be honest, this is a much more natural way to tie this short into vanilla Sonic Generations than that awkward birthday party line. But again, I can justify it, and even if I couldn't, I don't hate that it exists. It made me smile. See guys, it's okay to critique a thing and still enjoy it. You're allowed to do that. Who am I fighting with right now? Everyone's usually so nice in the comments. Anyway, there are a couple little notes here that I like. Rouge calls the commander Abe. This could imply that she has dug up a lot of details on the commander. As good of a spy and infiltrator as she is, that would make sense. She might have a good heart, but she always stays 2 steps ahead of everyone else. Another option, or in tandem with that first option, this also implies a more personal connection between these two characters. Maybe the commander likes it when she calls him Abe. I get it, man. I'd get rabies for her. Pup, I know you're editing this video. I know you're madly in love with that bat. I'm just kidding. Besides, you know I'm a ride or die simp monk for life, but you are a dog, so, maybe get tested for rabies. That reminds me, did I ever tell you guys I found a bat in my toilet? True story. Like, just a couple months ago, I came home one night and there was a bat in the toilet. At first, I thought it was like the most wild poop I've ever done, and I forgot to flush it. Like I somehow turned on the bat signal in my bathroom. Bat room. But no, it was a bat, and it was alive. Its little head was still poking up. It was just exhausted, so got it out, and it recovered the next day. True story. I am all over the place today. I really should get tested for rabies. Abe brings up a good point. Despite everything that's happened between him and Shadow, the Hedgehog could have just asked him for help instead of trashing all of his stuff. Costs millions of dollars. And Rouge just smirks, asking, when has Shadow ever asked for permission? I will remind everyone here, this was Rouge's idea to infiltrate the base. They didn't have to do any of this. She could have just called Abe. She's on first name basis with the guy. Could have just asked for the rocket. And Abe, understandably, gets a bit snippy, saying that Rouge could have talked Shadow down. Again, her idea. But she just smiles and says there was only one person that could ever talk Shadow down. This, once again, implies that Rouge really does her research and also is very personally tied to not only Abe here, but also Shadow, because we all know the person she's talking about. Calm down, Twitter. I saw some of you reacting to that in very weird ways. It was not Sonic. Sonic could not talk Shadow down. Here we cut to our closing scene, following the rocket that is taking Shadow back to the place he once called home. And the Hedgehog, alone with his thoughts, flashes to what seems to be more memories of Maria, but we don't get that little indicator implying that this was 50 years ago. We see these two characters sitting by each other, and Maria covering her Hedgehog with a blanket, allowing him something he might not have had for 50 50 years, a good night's rest. But there's no talking, and this isn't a flashback. This is not the manipulation of Black Doom. This isn't even a memory. These are simply thoughts of what could have been. As we can see with the simple inclusion of lilies, this one little element that implies that these thoughts take place on Earth, showing a future that was robbed from Shadow. He didn't ever want much of anything. He's not imagining a house, not even a bed. He just wants Maria there. Whatever else I had said about 3D models or Kirk's acting, the pain on Shadow's face and the way his voice shakes as he forces those feelings down to focus on the mission is so beautifully done. And with that, we reach the conclusion, with Shadow declaring that something sinister lurks aboard the Ark. Now, there's a lot more to talk about here than I initially thought there was going to be, which is saying something because, again, this video was 5 minutes long, and a minute of that was, once again, credits. Some of this will be a little fun speculation that will probably age badly once the game comes out, so yeah, let's just get this done now. Like I said up front, I do want more of this animation, but I do also really want to play Shadow Generations. It sounds like we're going to start the game in Space Colony Arc, and then it's going to warp into Radical Highway, which now makes sense narratively, why we go from one place to the other instead of just time warping. So I guess up on the Space Colony is where the Doom Eye is hanging out. There's some connection to the Time Eater, maybe, or maybe Black Doom discovers the Time Eater later in the campaign. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. But I have to say it one more time. I really, really wish this studio was allowed to play this story out, because I would love to see what they could do in the haunted shell of Space Colony Arc. What a set to play with. And these guys have done nothing but impress the hell out of me. But before I lay on more praise, there is one other thing I need to talk about, and it's something I didn't consider at all while watching this. It only happened after I saw people debating on Twitter, so that's my bad. I really should stay off that site. We all should. And that started with the question, why does Shadow need a rocket to begin with? Because apparently there are a lot of folks out there who just assume that Shadow warped up to Space Colony Arc from Earth in Sonic Adventure 2. I personally never made that assumption myself. I just assumed that he made his way up there by some measure or some other means. It didn't really matter all that much. I mean, yes, we see Team Sonic go to all the trouble of catching onto a rocket, but I just assumed that Eggman had a bunch of other rockets hanging around somewhere, and he had one set up for the rest of his crew. I mean, they had Knuckles flying up to space. I didn't think that was a major deal in terms of how they got there. But when you consider that Sonic used a fake emerald to warp back onto the Ark after he was shot into space, or that Shadow has used emeralds to hop dimensions or travel through time, I certainly understand why fans have made this planet to Ark assumption, because we have seen that Shadow could potentially have the capabilities to do something like that when it comes to chaos control. I do see where everyone's coming from, but I am going to push back on it. I personally don't see this as much of a plot hole for SA2. And even if you do consider it, and it was indeed something Shadow could do, we can point to 06, we can point to Rivals, I get it, but if they were going to do any kind of soft retcons for Sonic lore in 2024, I personally would make firm ground rules on what exactly chaos control can do, because as it stands, I've never honestly been entirely clear on what that ability actually is. It's shown to be both slowing down time and warping within the game it's introduced in. And God, just bringing this up is going to cause an avalanche of essays in the comments. What have I done? And look, I get it. I could write a whole essay on this topic myself, and I might even do that. That sounds like a fun video. And I'm certainly not one to talk down to a fan who gets hung up on this particular detail. What color is that damn fox? Consistency in canon is a big deal to a lot of fans. It's a big deal to me, and it tells us that paying attention matters, and you'll be rewarded for following the story. I get it. And with Dark Beginnings and a lot of media in Sonic currently trying to right the ship, I mean, Frontiers spent the entire game doing just that. I don't blame fans for looking at this particular thing because chaos control is a big deal. But speaking personally, and this is probably because I never thought chaos control could could warp from planet to arc, and I think the idea is a little ridiculous. I do think this is one particular thing worth letting go. Give you an example to anyone who follows my channel. While I fight so damn hard for Sonic's planet to be named Mobius, I'm not gonna have it ruin my day if they have decided on Earth. They clearly have. I'm still gonna have a great time running around on loop-de-loops of Earth. There have been other fictional Earths. I'm gonna be just fine. Honestly, I'm just glad that they finally have the confidence to settle on something to tell us that paying attention is going to matter, even if there are a lot of inconsistencies in the past, because let's be real, there are a lot of inconsistencies within the main game canon. What color is Tails? The games have given me 3 answers. And Chaos Control is a bit all over the place. Even if it's used as straight up teleportation, I do think it's a little wild to cover that vast of a distance with the ability, at least with only 1 or 2 emeralds. If Shadow was in a super form, sure. I like the idea of Chaos Control being elevated when he's in a super form, as we saw at the end of SA2. I know I can be very particular about what details of lore matter to me, but honestly, I kind of feel Shadow's earlier abilities were either overblown or broken to the point where you don't really have room for fun. I get it, Shadow fans, he can teleport off planet and cure AIDS, real cool, but if he can do everything, that leaves room for nothing in terms of stakes or drama. It becomes the very problem everybody seems to have with Superman. I personally think that Chaos Control being able to slow down time or warping over short distances is plenty cool on its own, and Shadow's other abilities that allow him to Chaos Blast, or whatever the hell you want to call his energy attacks, that's awesome. Makes for kick-ass anime fight scenes, but I really don't want the guy to instant transmission all over the place. I feel like that's such a broken power in DBZ. Let's not copy everything from that series. Now, that's just my opinion. Whether or not he can actually do it, well, I'm gonna leave that up to you in the comments, because I'm sure I'm getting a lot of people fired up as it is. I'm just bringing it up because this is a hot topic I've been seeing surrounding this, and I feel like people are getting so caught up with this kind of stuff that it's kind of killing the whole point of enjoying things like Dark Beginnings to begin with. And quite frankly, there are enough people in this fan base that just hate on Ian Flynn for stupid reasons as it is. I really don't think getting hung up on this kind of crap just to point out how much of a heck writer he is does anybody any good. I'm a fan of his work. I don't agree with every choice he makes, but I deeply respect him as a person and I admire his skill. And I'm very, very thankful somebody this talented is working on this franchise. And not just talented, but clearly loves these characters too. I've made that pretty clear in speed reading time and time again, but I'm gonna keep reiterating because I keep seeing that vitriol in this fan base and I'm just sick of it. Call me a fanboy, call me Kiss S, I don't care. I've spent so much time getting bent out of shape over the Knuckles show or this or that and the other. I'm not even a fan of the games that this short is referencing, but there is so much passion and talent on display here. How can you not be excited for this? How could you not love this? How could you be so caught up on stupid nonsense not to see the incredible work on display here? The fight scenes, these beautiful emotional beats. We got people complaining for years on end that Shadow's been mischaracterized, and you're gonna be upset that he can't just jump straight to the moon? Grow up. I know that's not most people, but man, I'm getting sick and tired of the haters. Done with it. Am I a hypocrite? Yes, I hate Wade Whipple. I'm sorry. Love what you love. I'm never gonna punch you in the face for it. Please say hi to me at Sonic Expo. Critiques are important. That's my entire job. But don't let them take away from something truly special. We have seen Maria's death played out to the point where it's a joke. Hashtag cap that kid. But here, we actually see the effect her death had on Shadow. I joke about whether or not they're gonna shoot a kid in a movie, but that's not what actually matters. What matters is the emotional resonance from this traumatic event. And this short showed us exactly that. I think this is where the team really stepped up in terms of analyzing and taking from the source material. This whole bit of animation firmly reestablishes the canon of Shadow's game, and without needing to revisit awkward old graphics or localization, this tells you just about everything someone new would need to know about the Black Arms, Gun, Team Dark, Shadow the Hedgehog, and Maria, while leaving enough there to make you ask for more. And at the same time, it recontextualizes certain elements from those old games for older fans. My buddy Channel Pup pointed this out in his analysis, but the way Maria tackle hugs Shadow is not dissimilar to the way Amy tackle hugs Shadow in SA2. Pup, I'm so jealous that you caught that. That is such a cool little detail, and there is no way I'm gonna believe that was an accident. This is why I appreciate Flynn and the rest of the team. They not only told a good story in its own right, but if that was indeed an intentional choice, they kind of made the narrative of Sonic Adventure 2 a little stronger. It doubled down on Amy reminding Shadow of Maria, helping him come back from the brink at the end of the game. When I first played that game all those years ago, I thought it was so random, but it was all there in the game, and Dark Beginnings just further cements that without over-explaining things like I'm doing right now. And this final scene of Dark Beginnings solves a problem I have seen fans debate about over and over again: the localization of Shadow's end scene of his title game. In Dark Beginnings, it shows us it doesn't really matter how you interpret it, be it the English track or the original Japanese, because now it can be seen as Shadow still taking a genuine turn in his path of healing and making his own choices to be a good person and live a full life instead of living in the past. It shows us there was indeed growth from that game, but at the same time, that doesn't suddenly mean you no longer feel waves of heartache and sadness. Trauma stays with you forever. As long as you live, some hits never go away. You just learn to live with. And sometimes in those quiet moments, or when you're in a situation that forces you to face that trauma, it can overwhelm. No matter how much you say you're over it, or you moved on, you've grown beyond it, every now and then it will come back to haunt you because it's a part of you. And here, in this moment on the rocket, we see a Shadow on the verge of a breakdown. But instead of tears, he shakes it off, forcing himself to stay in the moment, be in the present. However you interpret the end of Shadow the Hedgehog, you can now look at it with this fresh perspective. And whether this is a healthy coping mechanism or not, it doesn't actually matter. Sometimes this is just what you have to do to make it through the day. Sometimes this is what you have to do to survive. And no, I don't see this as a regression in character. This is quite possibly the most honest look at the heart of Shadow the Hedgehog I have ever seen expressed in this series. Keanu, you got your work cut out for you in December. And of course, it wouldn't be an anime if they didn't have some spoken word music slapped on at the end there. And yes, I know I've been an outspoken hater on this kind of stuff. I don't listen to the Persona 5 soundtrack. I'm sorry. I don't like the end track of Frontiers, at least Vanilla Frontiers, but alright, I gotta admit it. Without You by Casey Lee Williams is pretty damn good. And again, this is some anime-ass Sonic content here. It fits very perfectly. It would be weird if this wasn't here. And I am gonna give them props for producing this song simply for this scene. And if you couldn't hear what she was saying during that scene, just to really nail it on the head here, these are the lyrics from the episode. Can you hear me? Do you still hear my voice? Echoes back at me, why did you make that choice? You surround me, and your memory is clouded by all things dark. I can't feel you there. You'll never leave me, I swear. It's just a nightmare that won't end. So I pretend that I'll see you again, and I'll save you from all the things I failed to do. Now I'm without you. I can't forgive the wrongs I've done, because now you're gone forever. I remember how bright you shined on your own, yet I remain alone. I know I've been all over the place emotionally in this video, but I hope it goes to show you just how powerful animation can be. This isn't good simply as Sonic content. This is just good animation. It's good storytelling, had cute little moments of humor here and there. It didn't feel forced in or awkward. It was very cute and perfect for the moments that needed it. Birthday line aside, I do, again, think that was a little awkward, but again, it's not a Marvel movie. Nowhere near as bad as some of those jokes. The action was intense, and the emotional moments, again, well, anime cliche was really good cliche. This was inspired. This isn't simply copying other franchises or animes or anything like that, which, let's be real, is in Sonic's wheelhouse. But this is clearly made not only with love for Shadow the Hedgehog, but a love for the craft that everyone was there to do. I feel like everybody working on this loved the job that they were doing. It's been heartwarming following some of these creators on social media. Ian Flynn said that writing this stuff made him well up. Some of these animators were so excited to finally talk about working on this project, a promotional anime teaser for a Sonic the Hedgehog re-release. And I've heard that the studio has also worked on recent Ninja Turtle animation projects, and I really gotta get that second channel started. Oh my god. Say what you want about more recent Turtles, but everything that's been coming out has been done with a lot of love and care, and it shows. And seeing that kind of passion and love make its way over to Sonic the Hedgehog, buddy, I'm eating good these days. This little animated short promoting a game that's made to promote a movie. This right here gave it its all. It left nothing on the table. This team had an opportunity to do something special and they ran with it. This cartoon looked back at the darkest chapter of Sonic's history and told everyone not to be afraid of the dark. I'm so damn excited for what comes next, and I'm so damn happy to be a Sonic fan right now. But I've rambled on long enough. We got a lot more stuff to look at, so I'll see you guys again very soon. But before I go, I should give you guys a heads up. This will be in a compilation at some point, and when it is, I am going to take a look at what extras they bring in with the PS5 version of Sonic X Shadow Generations. And if there's any other things I gotta ramble about, I'll put it in there. But I've kept you long enough. Before we wrap up for today, I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Squarespace. Jumping online and building up your own brand was always an intimidating thing for me, but Squarespace makes that a streamlined, fast, and easy process, all while making you look good thanks to their Fluid Engine, a next-generation website design tool that lets you tweak any of their many templates with easy-to-use drag-and-drop tools. And I don't need to tell you how useful websites can be, whether you want to build up a portfolio of your work, an art gallery, or a shop, because yes, they have everything you need to run your own online business, including analytics that help show you the strongest avenues of growth and help you build up marketing strategies, which include integration with your favorite social media networks. And they can even help you set up an online shop to sell and distribute custom merch. All you have to do is design it and they'll handle production, inventory, and shipping. Really doesn't get any easier than that. And to make it just a bit easier, if you use my link, squarespace.com/gameapologist, you'll get 14 days for free, which is plenty of time to see if this is right for you. And when you want to make a purchase, that same link will get you 10% off your first order. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring the video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. And an extra special thank you to these fine folks here: Kyle Winter, Cyrus the Skeptic, Joseph Duncan, Sonic 2 Blue. I'll check out your music soon, dude. I'm sorry I haven't gotten to it yet. Been crazy busy. Josh Strider, Trey Nobles, Hatsworth, Tiny Jericho, Ginger Bob, Jack of All Spades, Tristan Trapp, Meekers, Bo Bennings, quote, Resident Fanboy, Miles the Prower, Singer J199, Sam Webster, Fish Flop, Lucas Lipker, The Bad Pal, Jonathan Dobbs, Clover Chats, Chad, Mr. SP, Cecil the Gallade, The Dark Neon, Stefan Platonica, 3 Monic, Graham J. Hall, Lenny X, Wayne is Boss, Lederick. I swear to God, I'm going crazy. I always feel like I say Lederick's name twice. Is there just too many L names prior to that? I'm going back up and looking. Am I crazy? I think it's Lucas Lipker and then Lenny. That makes me think that I've just said Lederick. David 20 Covers struggles to keep up with the lore. Brother, I feel you. Trash Baphomet, Enerjack 5, Grayson Coniger, Xerxes the Renegade Jin, Ken K, Then 101, Paxton Bisbee, Sindarin 7, Bunny. Stevie, by the way, recently did a podcast with me exclusive to the patrons where we talk about the original Sonic Generations and whether or not it is overrated. Getting the opinion of someone I deeply respect who did quite vibe with that original game like I did. So yes, I am planting in a promotion in the middle of the Patreon read. I'm very sorry, but it is for you patrons, so probably go listen to it. It's really good. Twilord, oh no, I've used up all the helium. What am I meant to do now? I don't know. You haven't updated. We don't know what's going on with the helium lore. What if I did this all in helium? What if I just did a squeaky voice? I mean, I could do that in post, but I'm not too lazy. Eric Delgado, Crimson Rose, Roxas the Cat, Godzilla, Makuta of Salt, Gleam the Anomaly, Alexander Watson, Neil Gampa, Conan Kudo, the Lex, the most powerful ship in the 2 universes, Kaido Prowers, Spearmint, Duo the Cat, Omega Man 21, Penn Adelaide, Daza S, the world's most unironic 8.5 tail stand, one more Sonic robot. Head? No! Okay, so sorry. Quick story time. If you're still listening, good for you because you get. Okay, so in my Discord server, I was trying to give an update by saying heads up. Apparently, Shadow Generations has been leaked. Beware of spoilers. Don't post them. All that kind of stuff. So I tagged everyone, and then in all caps I wrote, yeah, as you're gonna say heads up, I wrote head. Then I pressed enter. So everyone just got a a new Patreon reward. So, anyway, Gob, the RSI, SOS SS Sanjik, water is filling in the boiler rooms. What is Sanjik? What is happening over there, champ? We're about to go into like Sonic dies on the Titanic. Maybe that should be the next Flash game they make. Salem Hollow, Siegfried Wilder, the Burnyard, KB, and Tenric Terror. Guys, I'll be real. I don't know if we're going to keep the Patreon reads once we cross into 2025 or not. I've already scared some folks with some big changes I'm planning on doing, but everything's still on the table. Nothing's set in stone yet. If this is replaced, it will be replaced with something worthwhile. Quick pitch, I was thinking instead of a Patreon read, if we do a personal Patreon podcast and we do a Q&A where once a month you add another question in there and then we just read it for that podcast and really get into the thick of it. I feel that'd be a much more personal thing. We're still reading your name and lets me engage in another way with you guys. Let me know what you think of that particular idea. I think that would be a lot of fun. But that's all I got for my pitch right now. If you are a patron and you want to keep discussing this further with me, I will be a little bit more involved with the Discord server. That is a perk of being a Patreon supporter, and it's about damn time I really stepped it up and made it feel like a worthwhile perk. So I'll see you in those little town hall meetings. I'll hear everyone out. Not going to agree with everyone. Everyone says I am still going to be daddy. I am still going to make some hard choices that people won't like. Sorry. But everyone will at least be heard if you have something you want to say. And I'm certainly going to keep an open enough mind to hear out what the majority wants. This is for you after all. But yeah, that's enough rambling from me. Man, I've been going for a while. I did not expect to do that. But I will catch you all later. Toot toot, Sonic Warriors.